Hi, so in this video I'm going to talk about the notch again. Now I did briefly touch upon it in the first video. I mentioned that it doesn't really bother me, and it doesn't. But at the same time, it's interesting what you can and cannot do with a notch. So some design choices that Apple made, and some of them are just a little bit weird, and I just want to share my thoughts with you. Now, the first thing that the notch is for is really the toolbar. That seems to be its primary function. As you can see, the toolbar is even a little bit wider than it is on the older model, so that it lines up perfectly with the notch right here, right? So that's nice, and it's a good use for it because it leaves the rest of the screen and you get a bigger sort of real estate, even if the toolbar is on. So that's all to the good. You do get more pixels that way. But suppose I were to hide this, and there is a setting to do that. And if I go here and I go to the desktop and dock, and I say hide it in always. So I'm going to hide the menu bar. There you go. This gives me a bigger view of my wallpaper. So the wallpaper seems to stretch out more. It does stretch out more now, which is nice. And I would think that at this point I can actually put my content into this space on the side. But if I actually show you, if I were to sort of open the browser here, and I purposely have it very small, and I say, you know what, I'm just going to place it right up here against the top, look what happens. It bounces right back. So, Apple doesn't really want us to put any windows. Now, it makes sense if it pushes down from here because there's a notch. That I would understand. But even if I'm trying to place it on the side, it doesn't let me do it. So for all intents and purposes, I can't really use this top space as a workspace. Its only purpose seems to be to hold the toolbar. Even if I've hidden the toolbar by default, I still can't use it. Now, I couldn't find a setting to sort of actually allow me to put the windows up here. There might be a hack or a utility that lets me do that. If you know of one, please leave a comment below, because I'll be looking for those as well, because I would like to sort of sometimes place my windows up there. But right out of the box, it cannot do that. So that's interesting. Then you think, well, all right, so what if I go full screen, right? So let's just do that. I go full screen now. And again, I have the toolbar off. Yeah, turns out I'm still not using the top part, and it's only available when I move the cursor up and it shows me the toolbar. So again, even in full screen mode, you really don't use the full screen, if you will, because the top part is not utilized and it is reserved for showing the toolbar. You can have the toolbar always on, of course, but even if it's hidden, like I have done, it does not get used for the full screen. So again, slightly disappointing. I would have loved to see the screen stretch up a bit more, but it doesn't, and it is what it is. So what can you do with this space? So, like I said, the toolbar is there. The second thing is the wallpaper. The only thing you can put up there, by the way, is your icons. So if you want to put your icon up there, knock yourself out, right? So you can actually do that. And I actually generally don't have a lot of icons on my desktop, so it's not very useful for me. But I've seen people who have screens full of icons, and they really arrange them in multiple ways. And so, yeah, you can do that. In fact, you can actually go ahead and put an icon right under the notch as well. It will happily let you do that. In fact, you can move it so far up that only the text is visible. And if you want to have a little fun with it, you can actually call it something else. I'm just going to say bite me, for no reason at all. And now it says bite me. And if you just want to make it more easier to read, you can actually do that by going to show view options here and increasing the text size to 16, and there you go. So it just says bite me. Of course, it increases the size of all the icons. It's a universal setting. So that's just a goofy little trick. Not very useful, excuse me. I'm just going to revert it to 12. It's too big. And yeah, you can actually do that over here. So that's what the notch is for. Like I said, so far it's useful for a few things. It doesn't get in the way. It does give me more sort of viewing area, and it makes the view look bigger, even if sort of doesn't allow me to put content on it. When I'm actually browsing, when I open the screen, it looks more spacious, and so it's a nice feeling. Nothing wrong with that. Are there any downsides to it? Well, obviously it is for the menu bar, and some menu bars are bigger, right? So if I were to open Xcode, yeah, look at this. So yeah, you get a little gap in the middle, and the menu bar seems to continue just fine on the other end, but it does look, well, there's no other word for it. It looks ugly, and I wish there was a more elegant solution for it, but there isn't. And I don't like this at all. If I go to full screen, yeah, now the notch is not even visible because the toolbar is black. But of course, there is the gap in the middle, and it looks even more weird like this. So that's a downside. And again, these are small things, of course, that you get used to it, day to day. But if it really bothers you, I don't think what you can do, because really Apple is putting notches in everything. So we just have to live with it. The other interesting thing is, by the way, if I take a screenshot, so let me just show you. If I go and take a screenshot like this, and if I click on the screenshot, you will see that the operating system, it just pretends that the notch is not there. So over here, I'm getting the full toolbar with a little gap between source code and window, which looks even more weird, even though that's because the notch doesn't show up. So that's the notch on the M2 MacBook Air. It doesn't hurt to have more screen, so I'll take it, no problem at all. I wish the implementation would let me do more things with it. I certainly wish that there is a hack that would actually let me do more things with it. I'm sure there are. I'm looking for those. But in the meanwhile, it's good to know what it can and cannot do. So I just wanted to share this with you, and thanks for watching.